Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3RaiderFax, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football.
We are getting closer to training camp, so let's get started.
Today on the show, we'll review some of the Raiders news from the past week, and then we'll talk about two things, both of which were posed to us by our loyal listeners. First, we'll talk about the Raiders being an international team with a worldwide fan base, even though the past 20 years have not been the greatest. And then we will address whether or not the rest of the league is sleeping on the Raiders, and how the national media view Gruden and Mayock in terms of signing free agents and drafting quality players.
All right, Raider Nation, this is the Only Nation podcast, and we want to hear from the Only Nation. So give us a call at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can leave a voicemail or you can send us a text.
Here's the latest Raider news.
With OTAs and minicamp now in the rearview mirror, the Las Vegas Raiders are inching closer to live practices and preseason action, things that were missing in 2020. The Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center is ready to welcome the Silver and Black to its first regular training camp. Last year's doesn't really count. This part of the offseason will be critical for the Raiders as they practice against one NFC West team, square off against 3 in preseason games, and then finalize their roster before beginning the grueling 18-week season. Training camp officially starts on July 27th, and final roster cuts are 5 weeks from that, on August 31st, when the Raiders have to get down to 53 players.
Come on, July 27th. I'm excited about this season. You know, this young team is getting the lessons that they need to be getting, the lessons that last year's draft class should have been getting. They're getting them this year. I think that's going to mean, major improvements for people like Ruggs, Edwards, and the guys that we drafted from last year, Arnett. I still believe in Arnett. I think that Hayward's there to challenge him, but I still believe in Arnett. So, look, this is a young class, and last year's class missed this. So we're going to see how much better it is for these guys to have these OTAs and things like that. So it's important, and I'm glad we're back to normalcy when it comes to NFL for the most part.
Homer, you make a really good point with the training camp that was missing last year. In essence, basically, this is just not for the Raiders, but for the whole league as well. There are 2 rookie classes this year. There's this year's rookie class and there's last year's rookie class because they didn't have all training camp. They didn't have the ability to work with the coaches to learn the schemes and to learn just how to be professionals. They had to learn it on the fly. So there was no preparation at all. So basically, the Raiders are looking at not 1, but 2 rookie classes in this offseason.
Defensive end Carl Nassib was in the spotlight this week. His bold admission not only made news around the league and around the country, but it rippled all across the globe. Fanatics.com reported at the end of the week that the Carl Nassib number 94 jersey was easily the top-selling jersey for the week, and the young man has already made an impact off the field. In his Instagram post, he indicated that he was a private person, but that this was an important step in his life. Now as he raises awareness and fights for the inclusivity of all people, the Raider Nation stands beside him.
And I just want to make a comment that Carl Nassib is a human being, first and foremost, above everything else. And that transcends football. So as a person, I support him in his role as a player, and I support him as a person with individual rights, which are the same rights that everyone else has. So I applaud him in taking the stand. I applaud him in making the announcement. And I will say that he would not have made this announcement if he didn't feel comfortable in the fact that his own team didn't have his back. And I think that makes a huge statement about this Raiders team and Raiders organization.
Man, you hit the nail on the head right there, T3. The fact that this team backed them up the way that they did, I think that says a lot about, how society is ready for this. Acceptance, inclusivity, we've used that word before talking about Al Davis. And so it's fitting that the first active player to come out is a Raider, right? We're the first of many. minority head coaches, female CEO, female trainer, all kinds of stuff like that. The Raiders are always going to be remembered for. So, kudos to Carl Nassib. It took a lot of courage. And, I think we're going to talk a little bit about this later on. So I'll save the rest of what I got to say for then.
This past week, Darren Waller was ranked as the third best tight end going into the 2021 season by Pro Football Focus. Josh Jacobs was also ranked as the ninth best running back by PFF going into the 2021 campaign. Among other notable rankings, Derek Carr came in at 13 among quarterbacks.
We've talked about not necessarily believing in what PFF has to say unless it's about the Raiders. I'm no head coach, but I do play Madden. So having a great running back and a great tight end is going to lead to opening up the playbook. I'm excited about this. This is something that John Gruden loves to do, and that's run the ball. And you got to have a tight end in that pro set formation, those run formations. That way, you can still opt out and open up the passing game. I love it. The play action, Heidi, you've talked about play action a lot on this. That's where it's at. Having a tight end and a running back that are top 10, man, we can do a lot with that. And hopefully open it up, right, for these young wide receivers. So it's nice to see that the rest of the world is starting to take notice of the players that we have on this roster. They're really starting to get the recognition now because, sometimes the NFL doesn't always, or the media doesn't always show us love. But these kids are making a name for themselves and forcing people to talk about these guys. And it's great for the team that we have young talent like this. So I'm excited that this is happening. And, some of the other notables, other than Derek Carr, we talked about the linebacking core. Nick Kwiatkowski's at 18. I think that's key. That's crucial. So I'm excited about this ranking. It shows that we got a lot of talent on this roster. Cleveland Farrell showing up on here. There's a lot of young talent. This is a lot to be excited about, and hopefully we hit the ground running this season.
The third best ranking for Waller is fair. I certainly think he's among the top two, but that's just a personal stance. Josh Jacobs, ninth best running back. He might be actually a little higher than that, but again, maybe he can take this ranking by PFF and have that motivate him to have a really good campaign. Now, I really think that the number 13 ranking that Derek Carr has will light a fire under him to put him up into the top 10. Once again, I do think that Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback. Now, he just needs to go out and show it to the entire league and the entire nation.
The fifth episode of the Raiders Report aired this past weekend, featuring an exclusive interview with defensive backs coach Ron Miles. Now in his first season with the Silver and Black, Miles discussed the young secondary going into the 2021 season and the physical style of play he expects from his defensive backs. Additionally, Raiders host Aaron Coscarelli and former Raider Eric Allen recapped minicamp and took a closer look behind the scenes of Raiders Media Day. This episode can be found on Raiders.com. It's available on the Raiders app and can also be found on YouTube.
And the only thing I'll really add to that is a comment that has been made by Gus Bradley, and one that has been echoed on lots of different podcasts and lots of different shows on Raider Nation Radio. And that's when Gus Bradley said that the focus of the defense this year is going to be on fast, physical, and ball out. So the defense has to play fast, they need to play physical, and they need to get the ball out and generate those turnovers. That's what we'll be looking for this year.
Yeah, I was watching that episode and a couple of takeaways from that. I think, the biggest thing is that he wants them to play aggressive. When you're in a bump and run situation, get your hands on the wide receiver. Buy that half a second or that 1 second. Be physical. I love hearing that. If this guy can get these kids to play physical, man, we're going to do great things. And that's another thing that he talked about was getting these kids to reach their potential. I've been calling for that, for these players to rise up. That's what I'm talking about. Meet that potential, man. There are a lot of good players. They were talking about the 2 first rounders and the 2 second rounders that we have in the backfield now. This team has shown a commitment to building the defense. It just hasn't shown up yet. And so hopefully Ron Miles, with that attitude of we're going to play physical and we'll make our adjustments if the flags start flying. But until then, we're going to be physical and we're going to reach our potential. I loved hearing that. Another takeaway that I had in there was Raiders Media Day. I would love to be an independent media company, but watching some of the shots that they had, I need to step up my game because there's some great equipment that I want to get my hands on that those guys were showing, and some of that stuff came out really cool. It was, Eric Allen was talking about seeing the guys, just be themselves. Take the helmets off and be themselves. That was fun. There was a lot of smiles going on. It shows that these young kids, they're getting along. They're having a great time. They're enjoying themselves. And then they come out in these interviews and they talk about wanting to win. Oh, man, I'm excited, and Braun Miles, talk a lot about it. Gus Bradley being a big offseason addition, and we've talked a lot about Ron Miles being an great offseason addition as well. So if he can get this squad up, we're going to have a great defensive backfield. I'm excited to see what he can do, especially with Abram in the box. That guy's a thumper, so I'm excited to see what they do.
Our first point of discussion is on the fact that Raider Nation is actually more like Raider World. Despite the lack of success over the last 20 years, the Raider Collective has done more than just survived. It has thrived. We have Raider Nation Radio. No other team has its own station. We are the most passionate, loyal, knowledgeable fan base of them all, and we are poised to return to excellence. So what makes it all go?
I'll actually start off with this. Now, over the past week, I've gone back over past podcasts, and I've been tuning into Raider Nation Radio, and I've been listening to the tone and the passion of Raider fans all over the country. Now, here's what I think. Raider Nation is a mindset, and it's a family, maybe a little dysfunctional at times, but still a family. Now, years ago, following the Raiders was considered a renegade path unless you were either from the Bay Area or just didn't give a flying F. Now, the colors of silver and black are bold and they're fierce, and they've stood the test of time. Raider fans, likewise, are bold and they're fierce, and they've stood shoulder to shoulder with their team over the years. I will also say this. When you see someone on the street wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey or an Indianapolis Colts t-shirt, you hardly notice. But whenever I wear my Raiders t-shirt or jersey out in public, I can't tell you how many people stop me and have a conversation about the team and where we're headed. Some people may not like the Raiders, but people who know and respect the league appreciate the Raiders. And they know that when the Raiders are good, the NFL is a better league. You can ask anyone in England, in Scotland, in Australia, Norway, Denmark, Germany. I could go on and on. I love the fact that we have listeners from all over the world, and it's only getting stronger. Now, if we have the kind of swagger and passion that we already have now, imagine what it's going to be like when we land back in the playoffs, which I predict will happen in 2021. And I can't wait for week one.
Dysfunctional family. I believe that says it all. We do have a bit of dysfunction when it comes to Raider Nation, but what I love about Raider Nation is that they work through that. Like, people sometimes do. People that are important to you, you work through y'all's issues, and that's what Raider Nation does, and that's what makes it a family, even though it could be considered dysfunctional. But one of the things that I think we rally around is that the rest of the world, they don't really appreciate what we are about, which is giving back to our communities, to standing for one another, and diversity, as we've talked about, inclusivity just a little while ago. Those things resonate with people all over the world, right? And, you talk about silver and black and the pirate's life and all that. Who didn't dress up as a pirate as a kid? So the whole idea behind just what the Raiders stand for as far as, definitions, and those resonate. And I think you talked about worldwide, people travel so well. So you don't just see, the TV, you see each other and you become more and more like a family, united family, the more you see each other. That's what really makes Raider Nation unique, is that we travel well, we do fundraisers, we do events, music, costumes, whatever it is, it's just to engage with one another and show the rest of the world that, hey, you may look at us one way from the outside, but on the inside, we're completely different. You know what I mean? We're not here to hurt nobody, but we're not here to take shit from anybody either. So I love being a part of the Raider Nation. I love being part of this worldwide fan base. The greatest thing about this is that we all consider each other family, dysfunctional or not, because of our love for a football team. Something so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things brings us together and leads us to do great things. So to be a part of this fan base is to be a part of something great. And you know what? It's worldwide and it's infectious. And yeah, when we start winning again, it's over. We're going to really take over this world. The NFL wants to go to London as much as possible. You've seen us over there take that over. You've seen us take it over in Mexico. Just wait. The greatness of the Raiders lies in the future, and so here we go as a nation moving towards the future and trying to become better.
And the flame that burns brightest is the will to win.
Hear, hear.
You know, I think it's even more than just a mindset. I think it's a lifestyle. And I think when international fans see that and they realize how much of a part of our being a Raiders fans becomes, that is something that they want. The NFL has a rule if you want to move and you want to play in a new stadium. In the years coming up to where the move takes place, you have to play in an international game every year. And so the Raiders had to play several international games every year in a row. And that definitely helped. You know, we played in Mexico, we played in England. And, you know, even before that, I believe back, 30, 40 years ago, there was an international game in Mexico. And I believe it was a preseason game. And even then, we were reaching out beyond the borders of the United States into the world to become known. Raider Nation is huge in Mexico, but it's also huge in England. There's a Raider Nation Sweden. There's Raider Nation in Scotland.
Germany.
Yeah, in Germany, it's everywhere. And I think that when people see it and they realize the lifestyle that our Raider fans lead, that it's something that they want and it's something that they identify with. And when they see that we are that great dysfunctional family that loves each other and loves the community and loves the world and tries to bring our best to the world, not just on the field, but in life, that it's really attractive to them. So even if the win-loss record isn't that great, they see the fandom, they see the nation. That's what brings them in. And I love being a part of it. Like I shared in the episode a few weeks ago, you know, I grew up in a family that was not sports oriented. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I really got to see Raider Nation as a whole and how it embraced me and how much I love just being a Raiders fan along with other Raiders fans. And I think the international fans see that, and that's why they're gravitating to us.
And I'll make one more comment, too. We have our good friend Wayne Mabry, the Violator, who's going into the Hall of Fans this year. What other fan base has a fan who is internationally known like we do? Everywhere that Wayne goes, either nationally or internationally, he is known. And a lot of people have said when we look at the fans of the Raider Nation, he's kind of become the face of Raider Nation as far as fans go. And he's become a superhero. What other fan base has a fan who's become basically a worldwide superhero? You don't find that anywhere else.
Hey, and quick shout out to Crusader Raider over there in England. You know, he does a lot of great things for the Raider Nation, too. So it's not even just Wayne, you know, making a big mark here in America and worldwide. It's coming from London as well. You know, these guys are working hard out there, and it's a great thing to be a part of.
Oh, yeah, those guys in England, they are hardcore. Whenever we have a game over there, they are like the best hosts in the world. They have everything planned out the entire weekend. They make sure that Raider Nation is taken care of.
I wish we could fly them to Vegas every week.
That would be great. And here's the second point of discussion. Is the rest of the league sleeping on the Raiders because of past failures? And how does the media, and how do each of us, view Gruden and Mayock in terms of free agent signings and drafting quality players? T3, why don't you share your thoughts with us?
Okay, once again, I've been very vocal about this. The Raiders have had a history of overpaying for free agents who are past their prime and not scouting guys well enough to be able to extend them to a second contract, with a few exceptions. Now, if you look at what Gruden and Mayock have done together since 2019, the first year was a boom. The second year, not so much. Now, in year 3 of the project, they brought on a new defensive coordinator, surrounded by his own familiar guys, loaded the back end of that defense up with a lot of young talent, and loaded up the defensive front with a lot of 1- and 2-year contract guys to see who really is hungry and who really wants it. Now, buried in there are a couple of guys from the Raiders 2019 draft, Clee and Max, who are trying to prove themselves worthy of getting that fifth-year option picked up. Now, in order for this year to be considered a successful year in terms of both drafting and free agent scouting, I think all of this year's picks need to hit. At least 3 of the defensive line guys who were brought in on short deals need to hit. Undrafted free agent Darius Stills needs to make the team. And Furl, Crosby, Josh Jacobs, Foster Moreau all need to produce enough to warrant being extended. As much as I love Hunter Renfrow, and this may be a controversial comment, I think that would be more of a luxury than a necessity. And Derek Carr needs to be extended at the end of the year. That's my opinion. I'm thinking for 4 years. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere down the line, Gruden will finally draft himself another quarterback to back up number 4.
You know, with all the love that Gruden has for quarterbacks, it's pretty amazing that he hasn't done that. You would think that he would be drafting 2 quarterbacks a draft just because of his love for the position. So he's been pretty confident in Carr, and he's been making that show in his draft picks. I think that obviously we do have the history of overpaying and trying to save careers and having it blow up in our face. Some people, Randy Moss, just didn't want to do it. He left us and became legendary at another team. I won't mention their name because I can't, because I might choke. But there are others that, we just threw money at and we wasted it away. Even recently, we've overpaid LaMarcus Joyner, Sean Smith. As much as I love him, he's not at the end of his career, hopefully. Carl Nassib, he didn't live up to his contract last year. And Corey Littleton didn't live up to his contract last year. I'd like to think that that's all Paul Guenther. Hopefully it is. Hopefully we will see a different Nassib and a different Littleton this year. Our free agent selections have not been great, and our draft selections have not been great. Derek Carr's the only notable exception that I can think of. Gabe Jackson was extended, but he's gone now. Even Khalil Mack, he didn't make it to his 5th-year option in a new contract. I'm hoping that the guys we have now and the guys we've picked up in the last 3 years prove them wrong. I think the league views us as not drafting very well the last few years. That Gruden and Mayock has not drafted very well. I thought that 2019 was pretty good. But 2020 was a bust. 2021 remains to be seen. Gosh, I'm rambling on. I have to agree. The rest of the league, we haven't impressed them. And it's time to get out there on the field and bring these draft picks and these free agents and let them show that they do impress and that we have been making the right decisions. But I have to agree with the rest of the league. They aren't impressed. I haven't been impressed either.
Well, you know me. I'm not going to agree with that shit at all. You know what I mean? And I know, okay, here we go. Homer's being a homer, right? But no, look, Mayock and Gruden and Mark Davis, they've shown patience, okay? I think that's one thing Raider fans need to recognize, all right? Al Davis was impatient towards the end of his career, right? And it cost us big time, okay? So, this new regime is taking its time. Like this, for instance, 2000 draft class, their contracts are starting to come up. So this year, they don't oversign on a bunch of players trying to fill in a bunch of gaps. They just get 1-year deals, prove-it deals, get some guys in here to be hungry, getting ready to re-sign some of these guys. Like a Hunter Renfrow, who I think is being underrated right now. And by, T3, I feel like you're underrating him a little bit. This guy's clutch on third down. On third down, you know where we're going. When you know where you're going with the ball and you still get it done, that's big time. That's a big time player. Cleveland Farrell, right? We just mentioned his name in this PFF, right? He's 32nd as an edge rusher, and he can go inside, outside as well. Nick Kwiatkowski, right? He got injured with the pec last year, but the defense played better with him on the field. 18th overall. Colton Miller, everybody slamming that draft pick. We just extended him 24th overall. Richie Incognito came in, played well, then got hurt. You know what I mean? Whatever. We took some swings with AB, FAB, right? And missed. But you know what? Unfortunately, right, he went on and won the Super Bowl with the Bucs. So there was something there. You know what I mean? We took a shot with Brown. He missed 16 games out of 32, but he did shut down Khalil Mack, right? So there's something there. Look, Alec Ingold, right? We've been talking about Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. We talk about Ingold here and there too, but that's a big addition to the team. You know, Darren Waller, finding him off the practice squad like they did. That's a big addition to the team. Ruggs, yes, we talked about last year and them not having the training camp. This year, he's going to have that training camp. He did pretty well last year. He, in that first game against Carolina, you could tell that they were working that offense around him. And then he got hit, he got a little dinged up here and there. It didn't quite work out, but that happens to a lot of rookies. Are they hitting home runs right now? Nah, they're not. You know what? But they're hitting doubles. You see what I'm saying? We're getting guys on right now. Now, yes, this class, they got to start hitting. You know what I mean? But we've committed to the defense. We're bringing in savvy veterans like Aguilar, right? Derek Carr got Aguilar paid. Everybody was like, oh, man, what's this signing? This guy drops the ball all the time. Boom, by the end of the year, we got to re-sign him. How do we let that guy go? You know what I mean? So we're right there, 8-8, right? 8-8. Yes, we've had the 2 midseason collapses, but that's because we have a young team. I know, we're all tired of the excuses. I know, but these guys are learning how to become professionals, all right? Now, we re-signed Good, right? We signed him out of nowhere. Then he stepped in and played for Trent Brown, and he's at right tackle when he was a guard. You know what I mean? We re-signed him. That's a good addition. Nick Martin, right? Nobody really talks about him, but he was only one of 7 centers to allow 1 sack last year. You know what I mean? So that's a decent signing, right? We all miss Rodney Hudson. You know what I mean? We're all going to miss Rodney Hudson, but at the same time, he wasn't trying to take a pay cut. He wanted more money. That's why he went to Arizona, got a contract extension, and got more money. You know what I mean? So they're doing the thing. They're trying to position themselves. Like I said, John Gruden ain't going nowhere. So stop. Is John Gruden on the hot seat thing? Because that's not happening. This is the long game. This is the Raiders playing the long game. And a lot of us diehard Raider fans, we don't want to have to be patient anymore. But I'm telling you, we're on the cusp of this. At 8-8, 2 midseason collapses, right? You got another draft class coming in. You got 15 defensive tackles to choose from. You know what I mean? You're putting yourself in a position to where you can continue to sign these young guys that you're drafting that are playing pretty well. I think Edwards showed his worth too early in the season before he got hurt. Now, of course, that's a lot of injuries, but you know what? We got out of OTAs without any injuries. We got to make it out of training camp. We got to stay healthy. But these kids, they're smart football players. They're starting to show up in these rankings. We're right there. We talked about Miles. If Miles can turn this defensive backfield into anything half as good as the Legion of Boom, we are going to get those games. Those 2 games or 3 games that we blew, the defense blew, that's not going to happen. So I'm still going to give them a B+ because it's still early into what they're doing. But if you look at it from that standpoint, that it's still early, their game plan, we're still early in their game plan. It's only the first quarter of Mayock and Gruden's, game plan. They're building for the long game. So I'm going to give them B+, but I think that we're doing a lot better than we've done in a long time. As far as drafting, yes, swing and miss free agents, but there's been a lot of good free agents that we've signed that are flying under the radar. So just a little bit more patience. And yes, they're going to prove it on the field. I really do believe that this year because Gruden, he is a good coach. And they are making a concerted effort to get that defense up to par. And so with that being said, I'm just going to stop rambling, But hey, I'll give them a B+.
I don't have an issue with the free agent rookies that we're signing. The undrafted free agent rookies, they've been pretty spot on. And this year, it was a really good crop. And the free agents that we're signing during the season, I don't have an issue with either. We've had some good ones. Like you said, Good, Waller, They've made a huge impact. It's the ones in between the seasons that I have an issue with. We've issued a lot of money out to people that they've not lived up to their contract. They've not done what they were supposed to do.
And you can fault Gruden and Mayock for selecting those guys, but the bottom line is they didn't live up to what they were earning. You know what I mean? It's on the players to a certain extent.
It is on the players to a certain extent, but the thing is, we still signed them. That's on us for signing a player that decided not to, for whatever reason, or was not capable of it. We didn't screen them properly.
The one thing I was angry and upset about was when they brought Marinelli in, he started to bring in some of his own guys for the defensive line. That didn't work out very well. And I think a lot of people raised their eyebrows and said, okay, has the game really passed this guy by? He may be a legend. He may have been in it for many years, and he has good football mind, but has the game passed him by? Well, a lot of the same comments have been directed at Gruden in his second tenure. Has the game passed him by as a coach? So those are all really valid questions. And until the Raiders step up and start consistently winning, and really until they start proving that they can win the back end of their schedule, which they have failed to do the last two seasons, those question marks are not just there, but they're pretty large.
I just feel like we have an upward trend since Gruden came back, right? The 4-12 season, chalk that up, man. Khalil Mack held out. I knew that he was going to get traded because John Gruden doesn't play that game. All right, so just chalk that up. And don't forget that team that Khalil Mack was on, that John Gruden had to destroy, fell apart week 3, 2017. Okay, so that roster was gone. And remember, we had baby Reggie in there with Bruce Irving, and we had Marquette King and all this and that. That's not the locker room that Gruden wants. So just at 4-12 season, just throw that away. But the 7-9 season, there was still hardly anybody on that roster. Who do we have? The guy from Green Bay. I can't even remember his name.
Jordy Nelson.
But as they've been able to build their roster through the draft, they have shown me that they are, working on a certain type of player. They're trying to build a locker room that can stick together, and you don't need somebody to go on there and scream and yell and do a rah, rah, rah. You got John Gruden for that. So, I don't know. They're not all going to be zingers. Yeah, I wish that we could be batting 1,000, but 333 is Hall of Fame in baseball. So hopefully we can get that turned into a Super Bowl, and then this argument just goes away. But, of course, we'll be arguing about the next head coach somewhere 10 years down the road or whatever.
You see, they took a big risk with Trent Brown a couple of years ago, but when you look at it, he was the guy to bring in. And really, I blame that all on Trent Brown. And again, we can say what we want, and Heidi, I know how you feel about that whole situation, but I will tell you that he came into a good situation, and if he had been able to stay healthy and had his head screwed on and done all the things that he should have done, he could have cohesed with this team pretty well, and we could have had an even good, more solid foundation going forward. So I put some of the blame of that on him squarely.
Oh yeah, that's on Brown. I don't blame the front office for that one. That's on him.
What was that they call him? An energy vampire.
A psychic vampire. Okay, T3, how about bringing us your top 3 for the week?
T3's top 3.
All right, here is this week's top 3. Number 1, Coach John Gruden has been highly questioned by much of the media and a good deal of the fan base about his play calling. Well, now, if you look at the game that he called against the Raiders in the Super Bowl, I think you'll see that he did utilize the run a lot. He got his main receivers into the game, but also utilized the number 3 receiver a lot during that game. Now, as Derek Carr continues to grow in confidence with this offense, the play calling will come to light as being a strength of this team, not a weakness. Number 2, Richie Incognito is now the elder statesman of this offensive line. Now, if he's healthy and on the field, he'll be right next to Andre James. If he's not, he'll be on the bench working with John Simpson. Either way, this guy, who may be in his last season because of age and injuries, will make an impact on the young guys and carry that mindset and mentality forward. And number 3, the home crowd at Allegiant Stadium. Now that the Vegas Golden Knights are out of the NHL playoffs, the Raiders are the next up. Let's see Vegas jump behind this team. especially when the defense is on the field. Let's pack the stadium. Let's see the energy and the passion out on the streets, and let's get this winning mindset back. I'm not worried about the first 9 games of the season. Let's just take care of the back 8. And that is this week's top 3.
I'd like to touch on number 1. Yeah, that was Tony Dungy's team, but that was John Gruden that took that team to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? He did that. But if you stop and think about it, I think we have a lot of pieces in place that are kind of like that team, right? He had Allstott, the big thumper, right? And we got the big thumper in Ingold. He had Pittman, who was a tough inside runner, outside runner, right? And Kirby was a coach on that team, and he's there. You know, he had the quarterback that had the big arm and was a pocket passer that understood the offense. He has that in Derek Carr. You know, you talked about in the Super Bowl that he used the third wide receiver a lot. Hunter Renfrow, right? He's the third wide receiver for the most part. And then the defense, overall defense. They are trying to rebuild that Bucs team, essentially. And what John Gruden also had in Oakland with Rich, Brown Rice, and all the other guys. You know what I mean? So I think that we are really, if you pay attention, he's starting to do what he did back then with the Raiders right now. So I really think that we're gonna be really good this year, and our team is gonna start to look like some of these teams that he won with in the past. And then Richie Incognito, I guess I'll touch on number 2 real quick. You know, this guy's coming in. He's gonna help Andre James. You know what I mean? You got Good on the other side. That's going to be important to help out this young center. Of course, we got Nick Martin as a backup. But, you know, if Richie Incognito, if he stays healthy, man, he's going to help this line tremendously. And I'm not too worried about this line if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I agree that Gruden is setting us up to be a run-first offense. And I think that it's going to prove to be very successful. I'm really not worried about the offensive line despite losing 3 starters off of it. I think it might take a while for it to gel, but I think the players we have are going to be able to make it possible. And I think the leadership from Incognito and Good and Colton Miller now, you know, he's been around for a few years. He's becoming a veteran. And I think that they are going to be able to lead Leatherwood and James fairly well and cause them to gel. And we've got some running backs, man. We've got a running back room that's scary. Jacobs, Drake, you know, and whoever they decide to make up the rest of it. Ingold, he's a fantastic fullback. Our running game is going to be top-notch. It's going to be hard to stop. Richie Incognito, I love the guy. Was he a risky signing at first? Yeah. I guess that was a free agent signing that did turn out good. And he's turned out to be a real leader. Used to be a hothead, but he's in control now. And he's a leader, and he's somebody that can really guide the younger guys on the line, really cause them to gel, really cause them to become a unit. Home team, we need that. Home crowd at Allegiant Stadium. Our record at Allegiant last year, what was it, 2-6?
2-6.
2-6. Yeah, we definitely need a crowd there. And we need a home team crowd, not a visiting team crowd. There's a danger of that because it is Vegas, and it is a tourist town. But I agree, let's pack the stadium. I don't think it's going to be a problem this year because Raider Nation is going to take over. And I think that's really going to help a team, especially a team with as many young players as we have on ours. Do we have a Homer's Hammer?
I've been dropping the hammer the whole episode.
Yeah, you didn't like what I had to say. Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or text message at that number. Or send in a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts. And this week, we do have a voicemail. Kind of have 2. It's actually a 2-parter. Let me pull it up.
Only Nation Podcast. Heidi, Homer, and T3. What's going on, guys? It's your buddy, Bourbon Raider. Man, I'm so sorry. First off, I'm so sorry for just now calling. I should have called a long time ago. Been meaning to, just, you know how life goes. Plus, it being the off season, things are pretty quiet and whatnot. But anyways, before I get into my actual call, I want to thank you guys again for that custom jersey that I actually won from you guys. I was telling T3 on the phone, like, I never win anything. I have like the worst luck. I've been in many contests and never win. So when you guys actually announced that I was the winner for that first contest you had, I was in complete shock. So thank you guys for the jersey. I love it. I'm definitely going to be wearing it plenty to games, whether at home or if I go to the games or whatever the case is. I'll be wearing it for a very, very long time. So I definitely appreciate it. But yeah, so into the other stuff I want to actually talk about. I've been a loyal listener since episode 1. I've been listening to your show, pretty much every episode that comes out. It's great to listen to on my commutes to work, even when I'm at work, stuff like that. You guys have great chemistry, very knowledgeable of not just our team, but with football in general. So I definitely enjoy the show. You guys put out great content. Definitely keep up the great work. I love what you guys are doing for myself and the rest of Raider Nation. We really do appreciate it. Now, to get into how my fandom started with the Raiders, it's very, very similar to Homer. Homer and I are actually around the same age. So with a lot of the stuff he talks about, I could definitely relate. But my fandom did start with Bo Jackson as well. Bo Jackson, as a kid, watching him, just wow, like back in the day, growing up, I don't know, for some reason, to me, he was like a superhero. The guy was just amazing, you know, and from that point on, from Bo Jackson to this day, I've just stuck with the Raiders ever since. Raider Nation all the way. It's fun. A funny story is, my girlfriend, is actually, oh man, I'm so sorry. I just got cut off. I'll make the rest of this call quick. Sorry. I actually went on a little rant there. But yeah, again, back to my girlfriend, funny story. She's actually a huge Seahawks fan. But she's actually from Washington, so she grew up a Seahawks fan and everything. So, I don't give a crap about her or anything. I can't hate on her for that. The Seahawks are a great team. I'm not going to lie. They've definitely, at least more recently, they've had a lot more success than we have. But it's cool. We support each other. Anytime her games are on, I watch. Anytime my game's on, she'll watch. So it works out. And at least, hey, we're in different conferences, different divisions, so it's all good. But yeah, so before I get cut off again, I just wanted to finally call in and say hello to you guys. Please continue doing what you're doing because we love the show. You guys put out great content. I hope to meet you guys at a game one day. That would be freaking amazing. All three of you seem like really, really cool people. So, yeah, hopefully that'll happen one of these days, especially in Vegas. That would be so cool to be able to meet in our Raider Stadium, our brand new, beautiful stadium. That would be freaking sweet. But yeah, let me go ahead and let you guys go before I get cut off again. Thank you guys again for everything. Keep up the great work, and I will talk to you again soon. Go Raiders.
Hey, great hearing from Bourbon Raider. And again, congratulations on winning that contest. We hope to have other contests pretty soon. I did get one more comment through Facebook from one of our fans who identified himself as Jake S. Farm. Now, I'm not sure if that's the actual Jake from State Farm, but hey, if it is, we have a famous fandom in our presence. And he said, sorry for the late reply, but currently in the hospital. I just saw this. My fandom comes from me being a rebel and an outcast and a tough warrior like our beloved Raiders. People always hate on us, but we're loyal people. Just don't cross us. and that's from Jake S. Farm, maybe Jake from State Farm. So if you're still in the hospital, Jake, certainly we wish you quick recovery, and we hope you're back to it. And I did want to make one more comment about Bourbon Raider. I know that he and his girlfriend will be watching the first game together, which is that first preseason game between the Raiders and the Seahawks, and let's see, that's going to put that relationship to the test.
Like a good Raider, Jake's always there.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you tuning in, Jake. And then Bourbon Raider. Hey, man, yeah, Bo Jackson, he was awesome, dude. That guy, man, playing Tecmo Super Bowl, destroying everybody with him. Fantastic athlete. Greatest of all time in my mind. I know Jim Thorpe comes up in a lot of people's minds. Maybe Deion Sanders, but I think Bo was right there. 1A with Jim Thorpe, you know. But, man, Bo, what a great player. What a terrible what-if story, though, as well. But hey, at least we had those 3 to 4 years with him on our team.
Yeah, Bourbon Raider, thanks so much for calling in. I did want to mention, though, if you guys, any of our listeners, do want to meet up with us, Homer and I will be at Raider Nation Explosion 2, July 17th at the Madera Fairgrounds in California, and we will be there. Check us out. Tickets, I think, are only $20, right, Homer?
Yes, and kids 12 and under get in for free. So shout out to Mob Boss, too. He's been on this show before. Came on and talked about the Raider Nation Explosion in an episode prior to COVID. So I'm looking forward to getting out there again. The first year that I went, it was fantastic, y'all. Lots of diehard Raider fans there. Cool Raider merchandise. Bargain deal to get in with the family. So if you can get there, get there. It happens every year. And Eminem Productions, who put on the event, are looking to do some great things for Raider Nation in the future.
I'm crying my eyes out. The only reason why I'm not going to be there is I'm having my knee replaced on July the 6th. So I'll be sitting with my leg propped up. If there's any way at all that I can get there virtually, I will be there.
Oh, I can get you there virtually.
Well, we will be broadcasting live on Homer's channel on YouTube.
I will be there.
Excellent.
Yeah, check out Homer's channel, Raider Homer channel on YouTube. We'll be broadcasting live from there on and off.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, if you can make it to Raider Nation Explosion 2 in Madera, California on July 17th, make it. And T3, why don't you tell us something that you've been up to lately?
Okay, well, I've had a little side project that I've been working on really for the last year, a little thing called the Raider Roots Podcast, where we take a look at Raiders history year by year, and we take a look at what's going on the field with the Raiders and what's going on behind the scenes. We've already got the first 2 episodes underway, and I've actually been doing this for the past year on YouTube, but we're actually converting this into a podcast project under the umbrella of the Only Nation podcast. So we look forward to being able to get this off the ground here in podcast format very soon.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to publish it next week on our feed. You can find them on your favorite podcast app. It's Raider Roots Podcast. But we will be publishing it as one of our episodes. So you'll be able to find it, listen to it, and give it a listen, see if it's something you want to subscribe to, and then find it on its own feed. And we'll be releasing probably about every week, right?
Something like that. We've already got a couple that are recorded, and we'll get those up hopefully once a week. We're going to actually start at the year 1970 and a very heated rivalry between the Oakland Raiders and a little team that resides in Kansas City.
F the Chiefs.
They're not worth mentioning.
Oh, it's going to be more than F. It's going to be a downright fisticuff.
No, I've heard the episode. The episode is very good. It was very enjoyable to listen to. So I think our listeners are going to love it.
Now, I'm kind of jelly that I haven't listened to it myself yet, but I'll let that go. But T3, I want to thank you for everything you've done for this podcast once again, and I'm excited that the Raider Roots Podcast is going to be airing under the Only Nation Podcast umbrella because you've done so much for this podcast. Now you're going to do more. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm just happy to be connected with you, too. It's been an honor and a privilege, and it's just it lit a fire under my Raider fandom.
Yeah, so look for it the week of the 4th. All right, and I think it's time for us to find out what Homer doesn't know.
Hey Homer, Did you know?
All right, here is this week's version of Homer Did You Know? In this segment, I will ask Homer and Heidi and the rest of our listening audience a Raiders-related question with 3 possible answers to choose from. It's multiple choice, so just give it your best guess. So here goes with this week's question. After just 2 years in the league, Josh Jacobs has already gained 2,215 rushing yards, which places him 19th on the all-time Raiders list. He only needs 63 yards to take over the number 18 spot on the all-time list. So who is currently number 18 on the list? I'll give you a hint. He only played for the Raiders for 3 seasons. Is it A, Latavius Murray, B, Michael Bush, or C, Bo Jackson? All right, Homer, I'm going to give you the first shot at it.
I think it is Michael Bush. Michael Bush was a pretty good running back, so I'm going with B, Michael Bush.
All right, Heidi, what do you think?
I believe, if my memory serves me properly, Latavius Murray was only with the team for 3 years. So I'm going to go with A, Latavius Murray.
Well, the correct answer is A, Latavius Murray.
Wah, wah, wah.
Here's the interesting thing. Michael Bush is number 15 on the list, and Bo Jackson is number 14. Now, if Josh Jacobs can gain 1,155 yards this year, which is very, very likely, if he can gain 1,155 yards, he will be the 10th all-time Raiders leading rusher after only just 3 seasons in the league and 3 seasons with the team. So that shows you what a dramatic impact this guy has already had in the short time he's already been with the Raiders. And that is this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know?
And I didn't.
Surprise, surprise.
And now, Raider Nation, it's time for Heidi's Heroes.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. This week's hero is actually a repeat hero. This is a gentleman that plays for the Raiders who was our hero, I believe, last year when he very quietly and privately bought a wheelchair-accessible van for a family in need. The family had been trying to raise funds for their van for several months or even a year on GoFundMe, and they had barely made any headway. This gentleman found out about it, said, no, that's not acceptable, and he took care of the problem. He bought them a new van. I thought that was pretty impressive, named him a hero then. Well, this week he did something else. This week, he became the first active NFL player to come out as gay. And of course, I'm talking about Carl Nassib. There's so much to unwrap about this. I know a lot of people said, well, what about Michael Sam? Michael Sam was never an active NFL player. So while he was out and proud, and that's definitely to be commended, Carl Nassib is actually the first active NFL player to come out. And it speaks volumes that he's on the Raiders team. Raiders are the first for everything. Like it's already been mentioned, first female CEO, first Hispanic head coach, first Hispanic quarterback. It's amazing, all the firsts that Al Davis led the team in. And now in this field, we just continue right along. First for everything, it seems like. Fortunately, the feedback has been pretty good. All of his teammates are standing up there with him, and that's great. A lot of fans are standing with him. Took a lot of courage for him to do it. Took a lot of courage for him to be true to himself and to be able to come out and say something like that to a nation and to a world that a lot of the world doesn't accept yet. And along with his announcement, he also made a $100,000 donation to the Trevor Project. It is a project aimed at reducing LGBTQ suicides in young people, and that's another part of his very commendable announcement that he made this past week. This man, you can't sing his praises enough. I just think that that really makes him the Heidi's hero this week.
I made comments about Carl Nassib earlier, and I just wanted to make an additional comment Some people within the media question the timing of this with everything else. They're like, well, why is he mentioning this now? Is he afraid that he's not going to make the team? Is he forcing the team's hand? Well, no. Here's what I believe. He said this upon exiting the OTAs. This gave him a chance to go back to his home and to have his private time and to regroup and not make this an issue among the teammates. So now when the team comes back to training camp, that's all going to be past. We can just come back and focus on football. And again, from a Raiders standpoint, it's all about football. It's all about production on the field. But this gave Carl Nassib an opportunity to step out of the shadows and be a human and to be someone with rights and to step up on that platform all by himself with his team behind him and say, I feel strongly to make the statement now. I'm making the statement. Here it is. So I applaud him for that. And the timing, I think, could not have been any better than it was.
For the media to question, his timing, that's pretty shitty. But, that's the media for you. You know what, though? Courage. I think, that's the best word to use when describing, what he did. He was courageous. He had a lot of courage because, he's donating to, people that help children that want to commit suicide because of their sexuality. That has to be a terrible feeling to want to take your own life because of your sexuality. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine that, and I feel bad, because I had a friend that I lost to suicide. So that's something that, I know how that affects people, and just to want to do that because of your sexuality, that's a terrible way to live. So kudos to him, because you know what? Maybe he's going to inspire some kid to not do that. You know what I mean? And just to say, hey, I don't care about what you think about me. I'm just going to be me. And now, they have a hero, in Nassib, and that's why his jersey's flying off the shelf. So that's good, And like I said earlier, I think that in today's society, society itself is ready to understand, that people are just people, period, and they shouldn't have to hide. And hiding leads to terrible situations. And so you shouldn't be judgmental no matter what, because that could lead to somebody committing suicide. You know what I mean? Just because, their sexuality. So, you know what? Treat people the way you want to be treated, because that's the most important thing. We're all human beings. I'm glad that the team really backed him up. That was big. Derek Carr, a lot of people give him grief for his religious beliefs, but he didn't let that get in the way. I think he shared the message overall, which was just love. He showed love to Carl Nassib. That's where we are today in society. I believe that we're ready to take this next great big step, even though sometimes it looks rough. It's just because there's tension building. But I think overall society is ready to make the next big step and move forward past this kind of, these kinds of issues. Because it's really none of your business. It's none of my business. I'm glad that he did that, and I hope he kicks ass this year. That way the media questioning whether, his timing, why he did it is put to rest, and this dude just shows up and, plays well. So shout out to Carl Nassib.
And to support Carl and to support the Trevor Project, which he is boldly sponsoring, we here at the Only Nation podcast, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we may have made a contribution to the Trevor Project on behalf of our podcast. And anyone out there, if you hear this, I encourage you to do the same. Support the Trevor Project. Any small thing that you can do can impact a child's life. And if you can impact just one in a positive way, then you will carry on Nassib's message and legacy.
And that about does it for this week on the Only Nation podcast. We'll be off next week for the 4th of July holiday, but we'll have something special from T3. And then we'll also be dropping the Raider Roots podcast later that next week. If you'd like to help support the show, buy us a hot dog at buymeacoffee.com/onlynationpod. You can find me, Heidi Stabbert, on social media as at Kevlar Prom Dress on Twitter and Instagram, or Heidi Stabbert on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube on Captain Jack Rackham's channel every other Tuesday night. I join the DC wench Peggy Holmes and Andrea Trask on the Campton and His Wenches show.
Since we're going to be off next week, I just want to say happy heavenly birthday, Al Davis. Keep kicking ass up there, because Mark Davis is getting it done down here. All right, now you can find me, Raider Homer. Just search Raider Homer anywhere on Google. I pop up everywhere, or you can just go to the RaiderHomerChannel.buzzsprout.com. There you'll find links to all my social media accounts as well as my podcasts. And you know what? Don't forget to go check out ChuckyStuggs.com. That's www.ChuckyStuggs.com. They got a great story. They're going to be on my show. They're really good people. So go ahead and show them some support, Raider Nation.
And we really love getting responses from you, Raider Nation. Now that you've listened to the show, here's what you should do. Send us your name and address so we can send you some free Raider swag. Call us, tell us what you want to know, throw us an interesting nugget that we can use in one of our upcoming episodes, and become a part of what we're doing here. Remember, this is the only nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. There are two easy ways to find me on social media. You can send me a tweet at T3_sports703, as several of you do, or you can hit me up on Facebook at Tom, Thom Jones. I will do my best to respond back, and I would love to include your comments on an upcoming show. And thank you for tuning in once again and also getting involved.
Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Happy 4th of July. Just remember, we are not just a nation. We are the only nation.